Any of the concepts covered so far in this course would make for a robust and powerful family. However, the real power of the family editor lies in combining techniques for maximum effect. In this chapter, we're going to take a look at a complex model family design. We're going to look at an awning structure that's held up by a series of brackets, and I have the final version here on screen called Canopy Complete. You can find this in the Finished Files folder of the exercise files if you have access to those. And all I'm going to do in this movie is just sort of walk you through the final results so you have an idea of where we're going to be going in the next several movies. So here's the overall design. You can see it here in the 3D view. And it has several little parts and pieces. And we're going to assemble these as a series of nested families and various arrays. So let's take a look at each one of the families in particular. Now we've already seen the bracket family. Let's open that one up first. We saw this earlier in the training series when we were looking at solid forms. And so just to reiterate how this thing is put together, this guy is an extrusion right here. If we were to edit that extrusion, you would see it's just a simple shape that's been extruded to a thickness of 2 inches. This guy is a sweep right here. So it's just a curly shape here for the path. If I edit that sweep, you can see there's the path right there. And this green line is where the profile was sketched. And that profile shape is, if I zoom in there, just a small rectangle. Pretty straightforward shape there, but makes for a nice effect when it's done. This is also a sweep, a little more complex. It's got a little bit of a curved shape to it. That one is using a profile. So when we click on Select Profile, there's a profile here called Bracket Shape. And so that's a nested profile family that's been loaded in. I kind of spin the view around right there. You can get a better look at it. Sort of looks like that. The advantage of using a profile shape there is that that same profile shape can be used for other sweeps like this one, and it can even be used in other families if you wanted to. So if you were going to create several versions of this bracket, you could reuse that profile. For these sort of finials at the end here, we're using a blend with a void to round off the top. So this is just a simple blend between 2 rectangles, and then the top is rounded off with this void form out here, like so. And then there's a revolve here for this little collar. So that's the complex bracket, or just the bracket family. There's also a simple bracket right here. This is when we become victims of value engineering, and they tell us that we can't afford the nice complex bracket. So we'll go to this one, which is made up of just a simple extrusion in this direction, and then the cross brace here is also just a simple extrusion. So not only is it a simpler looking design, but it's also simpler construction using just 2 extrusions. So we'll close out of that one. I can show you here by highlighting and tabbing. Both of those use that invisible line trick that we talked about in a previous movie to make them display overhead, because both of those are specialty equipment category. The final family is the awning family. Go ahead and edit that one. And it has this glass canopy right here, which is actually a blend. If I do edit base, it starts off as a rectangle. And then if I do edit top, it goes to this sort of eyebrow shape right here at a depth of about 5 feet. Yes, I'll cancel that. And then that gives us this shape here where it goes from flat to this sort of subtle curve shape. And then to round off the end, there's just this void extrusion right here that's cutting off those corners. These support structures here are also just blends. Edit the base, there's just a rectangle here, and edit the top, another rectangle here, which gives it the slight taper. And then materials have been applied. Now, the other thing to point out in the awning family here is it takes into account the thickness of the bracket that we're going to be using. So there's a 1-inch dimension here that's been locked in with a reference plane, and that allows space for that 2-inch thick piece of material there that we're going to slip in for the bracket. And when all these parts and pieces are combined together, we'll end up with this assembly right here. So with that introduction, let's go ahead and get started. In the next movie, we'll begin creating our complex canopy design.